So the question is my Asian mother toxic, or am I being too sensitive or selfish? Not trying to throw my mom under the bus at all, but this is a common question, and it's it's an important question because when people start guilting people and making people feel a certain way, which is probably what more Asian moms do than not, especially the older generations. And of course, this is passed down from our ancestors and our grandparents and the lineage that we come from. So it's really important just to be aware of that and call it out. Giving yourself permission to call it out, because I would stay silent. And that's one way of dealing with it. It's avoidance, but it's also doesn't really solve the problem. It just kind of gets over the hump of that conflict. But what's really important is to get help for yourself. Watch videos like this, do research online, find out if your mom is might have some narcissistic tendencies. It might be validating for you. And it's really important to know that your choices do matter. And when somebody's telling you that your choices are wrong, or you don't have a right to feel a certain way and have certain emotions because you're too sensitive to what they're saying, it's usually, I can't really imagine me saying that to my daughter. I say that to my husband a lot because I think that's the way that I was taught, or I just picked that up from, my mom doing it to me, and I'm sure my mom's mom did it to her, or my grandparents did it to, my great-grandparents did it to. It's this kind of toxic culture that says you're not allowed to have emotions. You're not allowed to believe what you believe, or what you're believing is infringing on our lives. And to me, that's not a healthy way of supporting your kids. Maybe to someone else that might be, but like putting it in black and white like that and on paper, and of course your parents have sacrificed a lot for you, and of course they are doing their best, but if we don't bring awareness to what they're doing, they might never know. And I think that's why we play such an important role in breaking the cycle. I think it's really important that we break the cycle, because then we're not passing it down to our children. And then they don't pass those kinds of toxic behaviors down. And it's not that necessarily my mom is toxic, or, it's toxic behaviors. It's not really their fault in a certain way. Yes, they are making a choice to do that, but sometimes they don't know any better. So if we're aware of it, then we do have to call them out and say, this doesn't feel right to me. I'm allowed to have my own emotions, and I'm allowed to express that to you. And hopefully you'll listen without saying that I'm doing something against your wishes, or that I'm being too sensitive and I need to correct myself and my emotions to suit what's comfortable for you. I think this is a very uncomfortable topic for a lot of people, but it's a very important topic. And my mom and I have had a pretty tumultuous relationship, but I know she loves me. It's gotten a lot better, but there's still places that I wish she would understand me more, and I'm sure she wishes I would understand her more. And the only way to do that is to talk more to each other about the hard things and be vulnerable. No matter what her reaction is, you're entitled to your reaction. And that's basically what's, I think, is a lot of Asian daughters and Asian children don't know, is that they don't, I didn't know it until I started getting help and counseling and coaching, but therapy is really beneficial because it gives perspective, and it also does show where our parents have been wrong and their methods have been wrong, and not wrong, but just in a way that's unhealthy. And I think it's important that we start that dialogue with our parents so that they understand that we're not the same as them. And they already know that. And that's probably where a lot of the conflict comes in too, because they know that we're not there to give in to all of their wishes, and because they know that we're setting boundaries in our own way and struggling with that too, and being afraid to set boundaries and dealing with our own struggles of growing up here in a different culture, in a different country than what they're used to. And maybe they are triggered because we're losing what is so dear to them, or it seems like we're losing it because we're Americanized, or we are Canadianized or any other countryized. Maybe they're being triggered in their own way. And when they're triggered, it's not our time to shut down. It's our time to guide them through their triggers in a gentle way and firm way, and say, we do have a right to make these choices, and I really hope that you can respect them. It would be really supportive of you, or like, I would feel great if you respected and trusted me with my own life, because they always do think they know best. That's not always the case. A lot of times they do have more experience than us, but they can't have more experience than us in the subject of us. So we are with ourselves 24/7, and that is a blessing. And so to have someone else try to dictate your life or try to manipulate, and not manipulate in a malicious way at all. It's just manipulation in what they know and how they were conditioned to, they were conditioned to suppress their emotions. And then all of a sudden they try to get what they want by an explosion, or by suppressing their own needs. So looking at it from that standpoint too, they weren't allowed to have any emotions, probably, unless it was like a very different kind of family and they had different views. But most Asian cultures suppress emotions, and they think crying is bad. They think anger is bad. They think any kind of they think harmony is good, but you can't have harmony a lot of times unless you feel what you need to feel. And in that whole process, that's a harmonious process, is our bodies resetting ourselves. And it's really important to understand that too, and give yourself grace. When you are feeling angry and you are feeling sad, allow yourself to cry. I'm a big crier, and I was not, crying was not really acceptable. And then that turns into anger too, because your sadness doesn't have an outlet to be expressed. But again, it's not to blame our parents or anything like that. They are doing the very best they can. It's just important to understand that you have rights and you have your right to your own emotion. And that's really important. And you have the right to make your own life choices. And that's really important too.